Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, dramatic shift happening right now in modern finance. We are moving away from those old, rigid rules and speeding headfirst into an era where artificial intelligence and real-time payments are essentially colliding. Think about it. We've spent the better part of the last decade just figuring out how to make money move faster, right? Well, now the industry is waking up to a pretty stark reality. Our trust and our governance, they have to move at that exact same speed. Okay, so let's kick things off with this absolutely staggering figure, $1.6 trillion. Just let that sink in for a second. That's not the GDP of a mid-sized country we're talking about. Transnational organized crime has morphed into an estimated $1.6 trillion enterprise, and it is moving across borders at speeds we've literally never seen before. We're not talking about opportunistic individuals hiding in hoodies in basements anymore. No, we are dealing with highly sophisticated AI-enabled scam farms that operate with the brutal efficiency of modern multinational corporations.
So how on earth do we fight a $1.6 trillion threat? Well, to figure that out, we're going to map out this entire ecosystem today. We're covering the speed of modern money, an evolving threat landscape, why static rules fail, defensible AI and explainability, and finally, compliance as a growth engine.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the speed of modern money.
Look, we live in an era of instant gratification. Customers just expect cross-border payments to settle in seconds, and this is being driven by three huge macro shifts. First up, money is completely borderless and programmable now. It's zipping around 24/7 through global networks and digital stablecoins. Second, criminal threats are adapting almost instantly to exploit these new, highly fragmented systems. And third, AI. It's not just a buzzword anymore, right? It's in full production, actively deployed by both the financial institutions trying to protect the money and the criminals trying to steal it. Which brings us to Section 2, an evolving threat landscape. You see, all that incredible speed is a total double-edged sword. When legitimate money arrives in 3 seconds, that's a fantastic customer experience. But when a fraudulent payment happens, boom, the money's gone before you can even blink. To put this localized danger into perspective, a massive $182 million was lost to cryptocurrency scams in Singapore alone, and that was just in a single year. That's just one jurisdiction looking at one specific asset class. The reality is, the faster the money moves, the smaller our window gets to actually detect suspicious activity and protect people. And the crazy part is, these threats are constantly mutating. Experts on our sources are actually warning that the combination of electronic wallets and asset tokenization, essentially turning real-world assets into these fast-moving digital tokens, could absolutely trigger the next global financial black swan event if we don't mitigate the risk. Just imagine real estate being securitized, loaded right into e-wallets, and then traded at lightning speeds on unidentified networks. There isn't a system on Earth today that can fully cope with that kind of systemic risk. We're also seeing criminals relying heavily on social engineering now. This is what we call authorized push payments, where they actually convince victims to willingly authorize the transfers themselves. Then they use these massive transnational networks of mule accounts to quickly launder the funds. It honestly creates this huge moral dilemma for compliance teams. Like, how do you save a customer from themselves when they are absolutely 100% convinced they're helping a trapped foreign prince, and they're demanding to send their life savings to a scammer? All right, let's look at Section 3, why static rules fail. Try fighting these modern, incredibly dynamic threats with old technology. It's practically impossible, right? Legacy compliance looks backward. It relies on these rigid, batch-processed rules and completely siloed teams. Honestly, by the time a new crime typology is hard-coded into a static rule, the criminals have already moved on to the next thing. Adaptive compliance, on the other hand, is a whole different ballgame. It works in real time. It relies on continuous feedback loops and signal-based processing to spot those little precursor behaviors before the money ever actually leaves the network. I absolutely love this quote from our sources. Trying to spot a scam in these massive volumes of always-on transactions isn't just finding a needle in a haystack. It's literally looking for a stack of needles inside a stack of needles. When you're processing millions of microtransactions every single second, throwing more human reviewers at the problem simply cannot scale. Moving on to Section 4, defensible AI and explainability. Okay, so the clear solution to this totally overwhelming data problem is artificial intelligence, obviously. But here is the catch. While a massive 98% of financial institutions are busy adopting AI, a really concerning reality from the data shows that only 40% actually have confidence in their ability to explain it. Think about that. There is this huge, glaring gap between putting AI to work and actually being able to prove to a regulator why it made a specific decision. Which brings us to a crucial point. Accountability simply can't be outsourced. Sure, you can go out and buy a highly sophisticated AI model from a top-tier vendor, but the ultimate accountability for that AI's decision, that rests entirely with your institution. So if an auditor walks into your office 6 months from now and asks why a specific massive transaction was blocked or allowed, saying, well, the AI did it, is absolutely not a legally defensible answer. So how do we combat this whole black box problem? Institutions need to implement a very practical dual-layer approach. First, you've got build time controls. This means rigorously testing the model in a safe sandbox and setting super strict parameters before you ever deploy it. Second, you need runtime controls. You have to continuously observe the AI while it's actually in production to catch things like hallucinations, where the AI just sort of makes things up, or model drift, which is where its accuracy starts to degrade over time. But how do you actually execute this day to day? Well, you start by meticulously mapping out all of your existing AI use cases. Then you assess their material risk based on their impact, their complexity, and frankly, how heavily you rely on them. And most importantly, and I cannot stress this enough, you must maintain contemporaneous records. You need to log exactly what model version was used, the specific data fed into it, and whether a human was in the loop at the exact moment a decision was made. That is how you confidently reconstruct and defend your AI's decisions months down the line. And that leads us nicely into Section 5, compliance as a growth engine.
This whole thing built into a really profound paradigm shift for the entire financial industry. Look, for years, compliance was viewed as a total bottleneck, right? The notorious Department of No that just slowed business down. But today, it's transforming into the ultimate growth engine. Because in modern finance, trust itself is a highly competitive product. Your ability to onboard customers quickly or launch an innovative new product relies completely on the confidence that your adaptive compliance infrastructure provides.
It's perfectly summarized by the experts in our sources with this phrase: clean money is sticky money. Think about it. If you onboard a problematic customer quickly, only to have to file massive amounts of suspicious transaction reports and inevitably offboard them 6 months later, you have just wasted incredible resources. Protecting your customers upfront, doing things compliantly from day one, that directly drives long-term business retention and a far superior ROI. We have built incredible, highly adaptive AI to detect the unimaginable, all at real-time speeds. But it leaves us with a really provocative final thought for this explainer. As we speed toward an era of what we call agentic AI, where the machine doesn't just flag a crime but acts completely autonomously to stop it, where does the human responsibility truly end? It's a fascinating philosophical and regulatory frontier. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this vital intersection of real-time finance, adaptive threats, and AI. Keep questioning, keep learning, and as always, stay curious.